game next week after this if they can't win, because they play the Gold Coast. And that's one, that'll be crisis time if they were 0-5 after a loss to the Gold Coast. They need to get on the board here and get this one in the book. Robertson long. Top of the square. Andrews was there. Christensen got the crumb, shrugged the tackle, gave to Zorko. Perfect start, and he misses. Well, that's the tale of the first half. If you weren't with us, that's exactly what the Brisbane Lions have been doing, wasting it.
Well, he's just trying a little bit too hard. You can't criticise him for his effort. He's just trying that little bit too hard, a little bit too clever.
He was going into his celebration there before he'd kicked it.
It's a nice handball over the top from Christensen.
Hearn to himself. And then a long launch to Lysette over the back. Gaff was waiting for it. Set play. Cripps. He's taken his place in the team after half time. McGuinness to Lysette.
Once again, Lysette under pressure because a handball doesn't hit a target. Not in the pure position. He's only a 4-metre handball.
Paparone to McStay to Rich. Redden under some pressure. Got away from that Nui trip.
Well, that was really poor technique from that Nui. He had him cold. He could have put him in hospital. He could have buried him. He had the choice of everything. And the choice he made was a poor one.
We might get him a fine. Adcock. He waltzes his way inside 50. Didn't go for the shot. Went to the top of the square. Hearn. Lacroix.
At least they're competing deep. They're getting the ball 10 metres out, trying to compete the Lions.
Cripps being hunted down by Golby. He's still got some toe, despite that thigh injury. McGuinness inside 50, threw his man Paparone away after dropping the mark. Jumped on by Martin. Golby caught by Cripps.
Good numbers back here, Lions.
Beams to Buick.
Well, Adam Simpson won't be happy with the start. At half-time, he was very, very animated. He obviously wasn't happy with what he's seen in late in that second quarter.
And I think we're seeing it continue right now, Baz. Energy level nowhere near as good. The output, the run, nowhere near as good. They're getting the ball kicked back to them a couple of times. They should have already had a couple of scores on the board.
Shuey to Hearn towards Kennedy. Clark used his body well.
It's an interesting decision to kick to that pocket. Here's the Nick Nat who just got completely lost. He outstretched the leg and the arm, got away with one, but he basically should have come in low and whipped him around the midriff.
Drops it down to Cripps, who spins, kicks, and that hurts. He's nailed it.
Well, good start by Cripps. He's impeded a little bit by that injury, and they're doing well to get some more minutes out of him. If they can get the game in control, or it gets worse, you'd reckon that he's the one who's going to come off. But just around the corner, he's had a good start to this term.
Just pushed off Daniel Rich, didn't he? He's on the toes, he gets Rich on the heels, and he just gets that metre gap that he needed. And it's a good snap over the body. Just needs a bit more physicality from the defensive end. Daniel Rich, fight the fight more in those situations.
Rovers out, please.
Having a spell. Nat Nui back into the ruck. Will he get a fine for the little trip?
I think it was called high. It was more about the clip around the shoulder. I don't think he touched him with the feet.
Big lead by McGuinness, ball to the back. Kennedy caught behind. He gave it to Rich. Wasn't a good option. Got out of it. Golby. Paparone.
Was well read though by Clark.
Prittis waits for the bounce. Good knock on by Redden. That'll do. They can reset.
Redden running with Prittis.
Christensen on the phone. The coach Justin Lepich. Palm down by Martin. They can do it all again. Hasn't been one for the time capsule, must be said, this game. But it could well have a big sting to the finish of it. As Jared said, comebacks are trendy in this round. And the Brisbane Lions are home, and it's their conditions. And they've got a huge upside compared to the way they have been playing. Cutler kicks it, and Shepherd takes a good one-handed grab. Playing nowhere near their best football, the Brisbane Lions. Undefeated pre-season, promised so much.
Well, a lot of the good youngsters aren't producing. Aish has just had 6 possessions. Lewis Taylor is nowhere near the player he was. Just 7 possessions in. It's not getting enough of the leather.
Lysette stands under it. Good grab. Absolutely. Strong hands.
Where you at, Darcy? Right on the mark.
Rosa thumps it towards Kennedy. Oh, lace out.
Well, he's definitely capable of travelling the distance, Jono.
Put this one down, Jared.
In the book.
Put it down.
Book, says Jono.
In the book.
Good grab by Lysette. They'll be pleased with that.
Mark's here.
Slow start to the season. Had his position advertised publicly by the coach. He responded. He applied for the position again. In the he was re-employed. Right goal post.
It's bending, but not enough.
Didn't centre it, pushed it out too wide. So an opportunity. They've got a chance really of blowing this apart right now, Jono, if they can just get 10 minutes of good sustained footy going.
That's disappointing from Brisbane's point of view. Lysette took a really good mark, took a bit of time on the clock, and no one got back to get in front of Kennedy at all. Golby was just jogging. You've got to have a bit of urgency, and that stops that shot at goal.
You're right, it's urgency. The wording then spot on from Baz, because that's what we just haven't seen. Every now and then we see a little bit of it, but consistently as a group, the urgency across the board needs to lift.
So have a chance here. Beams to Mitch Robinson. Hasn't seen a lot of it yet. Short pass to Zorko. He's got Lewis Taylor. The release handball works. He just needs to finish the job.
Well, it was unfortunate, but that's what we have been hoping that the Lions would produce. Coming into this season, we're all anticipating coming up and watching the resurgent Brisbane Lions, because that's the sort of stuff that they put on display late last year and early this year. Beam's in trouble here.
He hasn't moved for a while, actually.
He's in a bit of strife.
Yeah, he's holding his stomach, Clay Beams, so we'll keep an eye on that.
Good release in the finish, given that he was wrapped up there. Yo.
Gaff, Shuey. Pops it to the pocket. They've got the spare man. McGuinness, Clark stood there, waited for it. Cutler, Rich, Yo. To the hot spot. Lysette, will he go up? Couldn't get a chance to. Clark.
Got a little better, Lysette. It was dropping short, and once you're in position, you've still got to react to the kick.
Yeah, Beams coming from the ground as well. Looked like he may have caught one around the stomach. Broke the toe during the week as well at a pool session, so he's had a good week.
Holding the right side of the ribs, so that's must be a thing in Brisbane, the ribs.
Pepperone, fumbled.
And there was a sun issue there. You can see that Kennedy didn't want to go for it.
Lysette to Cripps. Well, he just slotted one moments ago, and he hits the post here.
Straight up in the sun, that one was. Josh Kennedy could hardly see it. Here's the Beams injury. Let's see what happens. Just a late one off the ball. Sometimes they collect you, and it just doesn't work for anybody.
Lacroix got an elbow to the head in all that.
Right there, Jamie.
Redden. Little lull.
Move it on, play on.
The crowd haven't really had a chance to get into this game. The West Coast Eagles have led this from the outset. Little 1-2, Rockcliffe and Robertson.
Nice kick.
Stephen Martin. Cutler. Holds it. Delivers it. Zorko. Christensen caught a little high. Will he play onto advantage? He holds it up. Centering kick. And Lewis Taylor will have to launch this from the paint of the 50.
Well, it was a sloppy tackle by Schofield. Christensen was off, but he thought better about it, and it was a good decision in the end. Lewis Taylor's had a side of Jono. This one you'd expect to go back and bury this.
Well, this is his distance right here.
Right here. Yeah, right there.
He'll just make the distance, you'd think, kicking right on the 50-metre.
Needs to show some poise.
Pushed it to the right like the last shot. Probably beyond his distance. He overkicked it, didn't get it out of the centre.
3 shots this quarter, though, where you'd expect them to have kicked.
Yeah.
First one was Zorko, which would have given him a huge lift at the start of this 3rd quarter. 2 now from Lewis Taylor.
A few West Coast fans sent into a frenzy at home, seeing LeCras with the shirt off, and McGuinness floating into that nicely as Shuey. And he takes off. What a splendid bounce pass. Hill, open goal, strolls in.
That's just coast to coast at its best. Run through the middle. Josh Hill just able to slip out the back. You can just see here Hearn with the big kick down the middle of the ground. Brisbane come in to surround the contest. McGuinness comes up with a strong grab. Josh Hill's out to the left of the screen all by himself. You see Brisbane line players all in amongst it. And he's just out the back running in. Side 50 all on his own. Shuey, very good to see him. Great team goal.
Biggest margin of this game was 42 points. It's now back out to 39. Clay Beam's on the bench now. Rockcliffe, Andrews, Dane Beams, Redden. And he waited for Adcock's handball and he put him under some pressure with it.
Out this way.
Crowd getting a little restless. Not enjoying this. Hasn't been an enjoyable season for the Brisbane Lions. Still winless for 2015.
That'd be hard to enjoy, Dwayne, if you're a supporter of the Brisbane Lions. They've been down for some time. They've shown some signs of improvement last year, and yet they're not seeing a big effort here. It's from some, but just not enough.
McGovern and Rosa share a couple of possessions. Kennedy's led into the pocket. Share another one. Butler shared a few with Rosa over time. Sits it on Kennedy's head. Rich flies. Paparone the crumb. Cutler. Butler might jump. He stays down and Lewis Taylor goes all the way and beats McGovern. Dangerous kick. Shuey, body on the line.
Excellent by Shuey.
McGuinness, can he get there for Hearn's kick? It did drift on him. Didn't
He
read
saw
it.
too, Shuey. He knew he was going to get a big hit with Robertson coming at him. Just got himself in the hole. Stops the mark. Turns the ball over for the Eagles.
But that's the kind of commitment that you need if you go to win critical games of football and keep yourself in touch with the 8, which is exactly what the West Coast Eagles are hoping to do today. Speaking of next week for the Brisbane Lions against the Gold Coast, how that could be a crisis time for both teams. West Coast Eagles season opens up a bit for them as well. They've got a massive game next week against GWS, who are flying at the moment.
Yeah,
they're in the 8.
Watched them live yesterday, the Giants. That's going to be a fantastic game over at Domain Stadium next week.
So the West Coast Eagles win this, their season well and truly alive. They'll take it to the line here with Lewis Taylor in a gang tackle.
And Juno, your wish has come true.
Oh, look out.
Green's been subbed in.
Oh, they're out there now.
And Aish has put the red vest on.
Well, it's another bad one from James Aish. He's been given 2 opportunities and really hasn't been able to find the footy.
Been in and out of the team as well. Touch play on the call, and that's out of play.
Look out now, the full Mozzie squad are
Right
out on the ground.
Here he comes. Batteries have been loaded. He's been wound right up. And Josh Green going to come on and explode.
Well, he won their goal kicking last year, I should say, so he knows where they are, and boy, do they need a score right now. Gaff can't quite half volley it. Nat Nui. That's probably too high. He got one around the shoulder. Pritis. Cutler. Oh, driven into the deck by Hearn.
And Clay Beams is the other one on the bench, boys. He come off with that pretty heavy knock. He looks to be okay, sitting on ready to come back on.
Much urgency around the Lions camp. Bazza, it just looks as if people are going through the motions.
Yeah, a little bit. I was going to say that, Jared. It doesn't look like it at the moment. It's pretty dead down here, but look, they need to find some sort of spark. I know Aish has been subbed out of the game, but
Kennedy three in the back, by the way. Go on, Baz.
guys like Daniel Rich need to get in the game. He's only had the 10 touches. The midfield dominance from West Coast Eagles has been pretty evident.
Kennedy's kicked 2 goals for this afternoon, so he's lining up for his 3rd. But he could be lining up for 5 or 6. And this is getting worse and worse for the Brisbane Lions with each passing minute. And their season slipping away from them with each passing minute. This is for a 45-point margin, which would be the biggest lead of the game. He's a superstar, Josh Kennedy. He's got 3.
And he's doing particularly well. No Jack Darling to share the load.
Brisbane Lions, player on 6, player off 4. Repeat, Brisbane Lions, player on 6, player off 4.
There it is, Jono. It's official. You can rest easy now. And let's see if he can generate some urgency around the packs and get that mosquito fleet buzzing. Right now they're being swatted by the West Coast Eagles. Josh Kennedy just continuing to dominate.
They need that spark. They destroyed themselves in this quarter, the Lions. They had that chance earlier. It was 28 points, could have been 22 straight after the first centre bounce in this third quarter. And then West Coast have been able to just capitalise.
Goalless since half-time at the moment. Dane Beams pumps them long.
Look at McGovern.
Almost plucked it, almost picked it off, and still fights on to knock it on. Wellingham caught. Good tackle, Lewis Taylor. Took him to the deck.
But that's the urgency, Jono. That's the level of engagement you just expect as a standard, and yet it stands out because it's been miles below an average standard that you expect in AFL footy.
Stephen Martin, little toe poke. Marston, Rosa, Sheed, Rich. He gets his moment. He's within range. Needs to bring it back. And now they're back.
Well, it's a start. I mean, at the moment, they're going to have to do something spectacular with the win in the last quarter. But these are the sort of things that Dom Sheed has been guilty of too often in his short time in the game. Just blazing away, butchering the ball. Now, that is just horrendous. And if they had a much stronger midfield, he would be sent back to the reserves, the waffle, to get his kicking level up to the ability, and it's not there at the moment, up to the standard.
And you're Rich having a rest next to James H with the red vest. First goal of the second half for the Lions.
Nice tap. They combine well, Shuey and Nat Nui.
And Pritis.
This bloke's been good in the middle.
Marston.
Onto the left foot.
Gaff.
Worked for him nicely.
Good spot to hit. Fist from Gardner.
You'd really like to see
Shuey hurt here.
reading those a bit better, Jono. I mean, I know there's a problem with Kennedy. But that's, once again, these are the sort of things that the Lions players should be looking at and saying, hello, it's a bit of a chance here. Shuey may be out and finished.
So the Shuey shuffle off, and they'll probably have to bring on their sub as well.
Good tackle.
Good dumping tackle by Pritis.
It was a good hop by Shuey, wasn't it? It was a lengthy hop.
And they've got a player playing on his third game as well, Liam Duggan, as their sub, the West Coast Eagles.
He can find the footy, don't worry, Liam Duggan. He's got, speak of work rate for a young man.
Brisbane free. Tripp.
Back in.
Gardner.
Once again, without labouring the point on Scott Lysett, he has got to come up to the footy more. If you're going to survive in footy, he's going to have to be a potential forward. And too often today, he hasn't read the play well enough and his man's led him to the ball. Even on that little last stoppage, he was flat-footed when the ball was dropped in front of his feet.
Shepherd, not quite. So not a lot of oomph in the game at the moment, not a lot of spark.
No, it's almost as if the Eagles know they've got the game won, and they're going at about 75%, 80%, but they're not giving us their absolute best. But it is pretty warm out there, Baz.
It is very warm. It doesn't look good for West Coast at this stage. Luke Shuey going straight down the race, get some attention on that left ankle.
Like Gaff's game, he really is working well.
She bounces out of play. Well, they've got a player in the twos at the moment, Brand College, who had 38 possessions in the waffle last week and still couldn't get in. So they've got a couple of in-form replacements, but Shuey, the injury there.
Didn't look like he rolled the ankle or anything here, Luke Shuey. It was just more the crunch from the, or in behind there, the leg of Beams may have just clipped him.
They're hoping to get Darling back in a few weeks' time, maybe 4 weeks away. So perhaps they can slowly build their way into the season. Grab a win here. Hopefully for them, beat Greater Western Sydney next week, and then who knows what can open up for them as their confidence grows. They've got goal kicking power, and Lacroix, this is right in his wheelhouse.
Yeah, that was an unusual one, Jono, because Shuey had his foot extended. He was on his toes almost when it rolled slightly.
Hasn't kicked one yet today. That'll work back. Big fly, goal square. Kennedy had hands on it.
Last stoppage we spoke about Lysette. Just have a look at this. Lysette in the goal square. There's the ball. And he's just led to it too easily.
No movement when the ball's in the air. That's the key as a forward in that position. You've got to start to move. Once that ball's in the air, make some sort of movement to make your defender look at you or start to search for you.
Kennedy almost plucked that. Gardner stole it. Clay Beams is back on. Mitch Robinson. Dame Beams hurt some traffic coming. Robertson. Beams. Robertson.
Good hands.
So he's got options inside. Christensen's screaming for it, but he needs a good kick to hit him. He sits it on his head, and who? McGovern.
Only one man. He just reads it so well. He's allowed to just run around on his own.
Yeah, he's the pick-off king at the moment. Just kick away from him. Paparone. Robinson. So this becomes a massive moment now. They need to capitalise here. Getting the message to come on.
Right on cue, Dwayne. Duggan's been subject to the game. Luke Shuey, unfortunate.
And you do have big raps on Duggan, Jono.
Oh, he's a star. Don't worry about that.
Eagles have got a good one.
They've got an absolute beauty. Oh, they've got beauties all around. Nelson, Lamb. They drafted very well.
McStay, massive for the Brisbane Lions' confidence, and again it's another miss. (5-8). And a lot of those misses have been very kickable. Butler to the outer side. Lysette jumps, Prentice crumbs. Gaff caught and rolled nicely by Golby.
Still waiting for the green machine to start his stuff, Jono.
Yeah, so am I.
You've got a bit riding on it.
Just a little bit, Jared.
So Redden's free. Clay Beams running inside 50. Got there. And he has the comeback in his hands now.
Left post. He just has to put this at the left post with a little bit of height. It'll drift back.
Well, you've made the point a few times, Dwayne, about their opportunities. They've generated the opportunities, as against in the second and first quarter they probably didn't generate them, but they have not been able to convert. Still trailing badly on inside 50s for this term, though. It's still running at 100% in favour of the Eagles at 8-16.
Clay Beams from the 50, and that's never a chance. It's lucky to score. And you hear the big exhale of air from the fans here. They just have had nothing at all to get excited about. From the outset, the West Coast Eagles had led this game.
Well, they're all set up for the long bomb. Let's see if they can execute it well.
The pluck from Kennedy was good.
Actually did that well because they had two tools. McInnes took the front half.
Good body on the line from Golby there. Thumps it out to Rockcliffe, the captain. Coming back from injury. Can he generate something? Redden. Golby. Being hunted down. Duggan got him a little high. He's a little overzealous. The sub is just on. Got a little excited. Came on as the sub last week as well. Wasn't? Yeah, it was high.
Move it on.
Rockcliffe. Cutler.
Got to have a release runner. They've got one on the outside, Paparone, and he's found him.
So now they run for him. Just inside 50. And the good mark taken. So this is Gardner drifting down from defence.
Great professional work there, though, by Josh Kennedy. Gardner outpointed him by getting a bit of width, but he wouldn't let him get around him. He took him to ground. He took the body. So he's going to have to have a ping from a very difficult shot. We've seen every kick miss right of screen, so surely he's been seeing what we've been seeing, Jono, and he'll start this one out at least a couple of metres left of that right goal post.
They need some inspiration from somewhere. He centres that kick instead, hoping for the big flyers, and McGovern. Well, he just kicked it to McGovern.
Yeah. Someone has to put some sort of body pressure on this man at some stage today. Because every time they've either set that up, he's just allowed to run free and just jump at the ball. And actually, West Coast defenders and midfielders do it really well, and they just get him out and allow him to jump at it. And
amazingly enough, he injured his knee last week and was subbed out.
Yeah.
So
doubts on him this afternoon.
He's come up extremely well. Buick. Rich. Parts the sea. Straight between the two of them. So it opens up. Lewis Taylor. Miss Christensen with the handball. Prittis. Gaff. Rosa. Lacroix. And McGuinness was there, so it's not deliberate. He was aiming for the McGuinness contest.
Substitute alert, West Coast Eagles.
Ball in.
It's Justin Lepage saying, why didn't Daniel Rich kick that ball? He's on his left foot.
You break through like that.
You break through, surely
to the fat side of the ground, forward coming up.
You'd hate to be McStay. That's a free kick. Got away with one there, the skipper for the Lions.
Nat Nui. Kennedy tried to use his body to get goal side of Clark. Good battle, side by side. Good strength from Clark. Is that deliberate out of bounds?
That is a really interesting question, Brian. Because he was clearly going for the points.
Or was he? He's deliberately knocked that out of bounds.
It's one of the. We've got a lot of grey areas, but that is 50 shades of grey.
Absolutely. Lacroix flicks that up. McGuinness, who looks like he's got a career. Marston sits it up for the big fly. Clark almost run down. He is. Is that ball right on the goal line? Lacroix, spectacular.
Well, he looked up and he saw Stephen Martin. Didn't want to give it to the ruckman. Had the opportunity. Didn't want to give it to the ruckman. Opted to then hold on to it. Lacroix then was able to close him down. Effective tackle.
He's been in good form this year. Kicked 5 goals against Fremantle in a losing team last week. Kicked 4 against Carlton the week before.
He had to give it to Martin.
On the siren. And that does sting. 3/4 time at the Gabba. And the West Coast Eagles looking strong away from home. Too much firepower so far for the home team. They lead by 44 points.